1970s was a decade of bold automotive experimentation, but not every beautiful car found success. Here are 6 lesser-known failures from the era. Number 1, Stutz Blackhawk. Meet the Stutz Blackhawk, a Frankenstein's monster of 1970s decadence, resurrected from the grave of a defunct 1920s luxury brand by a flamboyant entrepreneur who thought the world needed more velvet, more chrome, and way more horsepower. Revived in 1970 by James O'Donnell, a businessman with a taste for theatrics, the Blackhawk was a Pontiac Firebird in drag, literally. Underneath its hand-beaten steel body lay the humble bones of a Firebird chassis, but nobody was fooled. This was a car designed for celebrities and oil tycoons who wanted to outshine their neighbors' Rolls-Royces. The interior looked like Liberace's living room, swaths of Connolly leather, burled walnut dashboards, and optional features like a steam-powered humidor or a crystal decanter set for backseat champagne service. Power came from a ludicrously oversized 7.5-liter GM V8, a gas-guzzling beast that slurped fuel like a frat boy at an open bar. Critics mocked its cartoonish proportions and more is more design, but O'Donnell didn't care. He sold fewer than 600 over 17 years, each one a bespoke monument to bad taste. By the late 1980s, Stutz's revival collapsed under the weight of its own absurdity. Today, the Blackhawk is a cult icon, a hilarious reminder that the 1970s didn't just push boundaries, it obliterated them. Collectors now hunt surviving models, fewer than 100 exist. Not for their driving dynamics, but as rolling satire of an era when excess was king. Number 2. Bitter CD. It's 1973, and a former Opel racing driver named Eric Bitter is hell-bent on proving Germany can build a grand tourer to humiliate Italy's finest. The result? The Bitter CD, a car so stunning that even Enzo Ferrari might have glanced over his shoulder. But this wasn't just a passion project, it was a high-stakes gamble blending American brute force, Italian artistry, and German engineering. Let's unpack why this underdog almost stole the crown, and why it crashed into obscurity. Eric Bitter wasn't just a designer, he was a rebel with a cause. After a modest racing career and a stint selling Italian cars in Germany, he became obsessed with creating a GT that combined Ferrari's flair with everyday usability. But without a factory budget, he turned to clever parts bin engineering. The CD's foundation was the Opel Diplomat, a luxury sedan favored by German politicians, which donated its chassis and suspension. For power, Bitter looked across the Atlantic, shoehorning a 5.4-liter Chevrolet Fiv8 used in the Corvette under the hood. The result? A 227-horsepower rocket that could hit 140 miles per hour, all while coddling drivers in leather-clad Opel comfort. The CD's secret weapon was its jaw-dropping design by Pietro Frua, the Italian maestro behind Maserati's Mistral and Gloss's gorgeous 1700 GT. Frua's pen gave the CD a long, predatory hood, razor-sharp creases, and pop-up headlights that winked at rivals like the Ferrari Daytona. The cabin was equally lavish, with wood trim, plush carpets, and a dashboard lifted straight from the Opel Diplomat. A quirk that reminded drivers this exotic GT had humble roots. Bitter argued the CD was a bargain, a hand-built exotic with Detroit reliability. But European elites wanted the prestige of Maranello, not a parts bin Frankenstein. Even worse, the 1973 oil crisis hit just as the CD launched, making gas-guzzling V8s radioactive. Only 395 CDs were built over 6 years, with most sold to loyalists in Germany and Switzerland. Number 3. Maserati Indy. It's 1969, and Maserati, still reeling from racing glory and financial chaos, drops a bombshell. The Indy, a sultry 2+2 Grand Tourer named to honor the brand's 1940 Indianapolis 500 victory, storms onto the scene. Under its swooping fastback rear and shark-nose grille lay Maserati's first street-legal quad-cam, V8, a 4.2-liter, 260-horsepower masterpiece that growled like Pavarotti in a wind tunnel. Later upgraded to a 4.7-liter beast, 290 horsepower, the Indy could hit 160 miles per hour, outrunning rivals like the Ferrari 365 GT 2+2 while coddling 4 passengers in walnut and leather luxury. The oil crisis turned gas-guzzling V8s into pariahs, and Maserati's shaky finances left the Indy starved of updates. Worse, its delicate Italian electrics and eye-watering maintenance costs scared off all but the bravest or wealthiest buyers. Only 1,104 were built by 1975, and today survivors are rarer than a sunny day at Monza. But here's the twist. The Indy's flaws are now its charm. Collectors adore its unapologetic blend of beauty and chaos. A car that drinks fuel like Chianti and demands devotion. Prices for mint examples now flirt with $200,000. Proof that even Maserati's forgotten children can age into legends. Number 4. Panther J72, the retro dream that crashed into reality. Imagine a car that dressed like a 1930s aristocrat, but ran like a 1970s economy sedan. A Downton Abbey extra with the heart of a grocery getter. Meet the Panther J72, a British oddity born in 1972, when Panther cars decided nostalgia could mask cheap engineering. Inspired by vintage Bentleys and Alvis racers, the J.72's swooping fenders, wire wheels, and long hood screamed old money elegance. But lift the bonnet, and you'd find the soul of a Triumph Dolomite Sprint. A peppy but pedestrian 2.0-liter engine wedged into a fiberglass body thicker than a London fog. Panther's plan was bold. Sell retro charm to the wealthy by grafting a classic-looking shell onto Triumph's budget chassis. The result? A car that handled like a wheelbarrow full of bricks. The fiberglass body flexed like overcooked spaghetti, the suspension buckled under its own weight, and the luxury interior felt as refined as a pub booth. Priced at £5,000, nearly $70,000 today, it was like paying for a Savile Row suit and getting polyester pajamas. Worse, the 1970s oil crisis hit, and buyers weren't lining up for a gas-guzzling, plasticky relic. Today, survivors are quirky collector bait, proof that even the most earnest nostalgia can't outrun bad engineering. The J.72's legacy? A cautionary tale. You can't resurrect the past with glue and wishful thinking. Number 5. Iso Lele. By the late 1960s, Iso Autoveicoli had mastered the art of blending Italian flair with American brawn. Founded by refrigerator magnate Renzo Rivolta, yes, that Rivolta, the company struck gold with the Grifo, a Giorgetto Giugiaro-penned rocket ship powered by Chevrolet's Corvette 5.8. The Lele, launched in 1969, was its softer, subtler sibling, a 2+2 Grand Tourer designed to coddle wealthy buyers in leather-clad comfort while still shredding autostradas. Under the hood lay the Lele's party trick, a 5.4-liter Chevrolet Vive 8, later swapped for a Ford 351 Cleveland due to emissions laws mated to a 4-speed manual or 3-speed auto. With 300-plus horsepower, it could hit 140 miles per hour, outsprinting a Ferrari 365 GT 2+2 while cosseting passengers in walnut-trimmed Connolly leather luxury. The Lele arrived just as the 1970s turned apocalyptic for gas-guzzling exotics. The 1973 oil crisis spiked fuel prices, emissions regulations strangled V8s, and ISO's reliance on General Motors for engines backfired when GM cut supply. Desperate, ISO switched to Ford power, but the damage was done. If you love rare, forgotten cars, hit that like button. Let's keep automotive history alive.